Greetings, everyone. My name is Chevelle Moss-Savage, and I am on the board of directors for OutCT. I also serve as the organization's education committee chairperson. I want to welcome you to the final episode of season 1 of Who is in Their Neighborhood. This episode is special because we are celebrating Women's History Month. And today we are interviewing a true history maker, Kia Baird, the founder of Kia Bees Music. And when I first arrived, y'all, in Connecticut and started seeking community, everyone would say, oh, you have to meet Kia. You have to meet Kia. She knows everyone. And so I am sure our viewers will enjoy hearing all the ways you show up for folks in New London, Kia. And so without further ado, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being on the board. Thank you for being our education chair. Um, Thank you for the work that you've done over this last year. Um,
Well,
you
it's
came
easy.
in, you did it, and all of the things that you have done for the organization so far have been successful and wonderful. And I so appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you. Well, I will tell y'all something that it is great to serve on the board under the leadership of Kia because she empowers her members to serve. And so there's never been an idea, how I say crazy, she said they're not crazy ideas, but that she and other members of the board have not supported. And so I am so excited about that. Um, let's I enough about me. Let's get into you. I'm excited to interview you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and how did you end up in southeastern Connecticut?
Okay, well, one of those questions is very, very easy. Uh, so I'm Kia Baird. I am from Norwich, Connecticut. I was born here, raised here. I still live in southeastern Connecticut. I went away to North Carolina for undergraduate school. And stayed in North Carolina for a little while, a couple different places. I went to school in Winston-Salem. I went to an HBCU, Winston-Salem State University.
Woohoo,
I
HBCUs.
I lived in Winston for a while. I moved back to Connecticut, then I moved back to North Carolina, and I lived in Charlotte. And then I moved back to Connecticut and settled and have been here for about 10 years.
Wow. Now that is some traveling right there.
Traveling, but pretty much to the same place back and forth, couldn't decide. So I'm like, I feel like I've moved a lot, but really to very safe places. I think your other question was about my business. So Kia B
Mhm.
Music is an artist management, artist development, and event planning business. So I am a classically trained soprano. I studied voice for years and then also in college. And one of the things that became my passion is working with up and coming artists to help them kind of bridge the creative with the business. So if you know
Mm.
any creative people, if you know any artists, you know that they are not always the most business savvy people. Sometimes they get so caught up in how beautiful the art is and how passionate they are and how devoted they are that they don't know how to answer their phone, or they don't know how to file taxes, or they really, those things are not natural for them, right? And they want to be spending that time on their art. But as any business owner will tell you, you can't really just spend time on the passion piece. You really have to do the things to keep the lights on. So I also then have a passion for business. So it's like this weird thing where if you can kind of be good at both, you're good at the creative piece and you're
Mhm.
good at the organizational piece. If you can meld those things together, then it makes for a really good sustainable, substantial career. So that is my hope. I say all of the time, my mission is to eliminate the starving artist, right? To teach artists how to make money so that they don't have to be starving artists, to and we do that in a multitude of ways, right? So teaching folks how to do marketing, teaching folks how to present themselves, how to write a resume, how to write cover letters, and how to fundraise and to get people to listen to your music. So that's again the business aspect of Kia B Music, but then the creative, the artistic part of it, is we also plan events. So I founded an event in Norwich, Connecticut, which is called Miss Lottie's Cafe. And Miss Lottie's Cafe is a jazz theater series
Mhm.
where we highlight jazz greats, people of color who have come through and become jazz masters. So we started off with Nina Simone, and we've done, Nat King Cole and Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald, and even we had Muddy Waters. So we got into the blues, right? And what
Wow.
and what the shows do is they're these kind of like one person show where the actor performs all of the hits of this person, but then also takes you through the history of that person's life. So sometimes they'll talk about, well, I wrote this song in 1954 because I broke up with my wife, and I was singing the blues, right? So so the audience leaves having heard all of these songs that are nostalgic to them, but then also maybe learning some things about those artists that they didn't know. So, and that show is at the Norwich Arts Center at the Donald Theater. And when it's not a pandemic, it happens every other month, and it's sold out almost every time. So that has been just a wonderful creative venture. Um, I also teach boy students, so which is, oh gosh, it's a love. It's like the most amazing thing to do. Not only because you're teaching young people to better their instrument and better their craft, but you get to sing all the time. So then you get better, and you feel better. And it's, I mean, if you like to sing, I guess. If you don't like to sing, everybody loves to sing, whether they're good or not.
The
So
key is whether you're good or not, right? Because I can't sing. I can't carry a tune across the bucket, across the street, honey. But when Jill Scott come on, I swear out, I can sing all the words.
exactly, right? So it's still fun. You don't have to necessarily, go sing at Carnegie Hall. You still love it. But so that is what Key and B Music is, just all things artist. We also kind of volunteer and help with other community events. So I run the youth stage at Sailfest. So
Mhm.
that's wonderful. So it's a weekend. So Sailfest, if people don't know, is just this giant community festival in New London, where you have between 100 and 200,000 people come through the city that weekend and eat lots of good food, and there's lots of entertainment and fun things to do. And one of the stages is dedicated to local and youth talent. So we bring kids from the youth talent show or local bands to play. And then Sunday we have a gospel concert where we have different church groups, local church groups, and we brought in international artists. So it's a lot of fun, and a way to highlight young voices, young musicians who are coming up, and also support the local talent in the area. So that's my
Ma'am, how many? You got like 12 businesses in one business.
it's
What in the
good.
world?
I
Like,
know.
but y'all, you have no idea. That is so her. Like, I'm not surprised. Not Chad, y'all will see. Y'all will see. Y'all will see as we go further into the interview, honey. But one of the things that you said is the business side. And someone actually on Facebook tagged me in a post the other day and asked if there was something that me as a clinician would have wished that someone would have told me about. What would it have been? And I responded, the business aspect of running a private practice, because what I do know how to do is talk and listen and affirm and give tools, tips, techniques, and resources. But the business part of it was a struggle for me. And so just aligning myself with the resources to try to figure out what that looked like. And I'm in this is, I think, year almost 4 or 5 of my private practice. And I'm just now like kind of riding the ship, because at first it was just a hot mess, child. I didn't understand what I was doing, what that looked like. It's just a lot. It's just a
Right.
lot.
Well,
So
oh, sorry.
No.
Think about how many visual artists that have all of these paintings in their studio or in their basement or in all over the house, that they've painted, that they poured out onto this canvas, but don't yet know how to market themselves, how to sell that art, how to become an artist that is being able to afford to continue to create art because they have patrons, right? And you're right, it's not easy, and it's not natural when you just want to be painting.
Yeah.
You don't want to be managing a website and or pricing your art, right? Which is huge, right? Like, this is something you love, this is something that, like I said, you poured onto this canvas. Now, how much do I charge people for it? Those kinds of things, right?
$10, because that's how much it means to me.
Right. And then it sits in your basement and you're like, why won't this painting sell?
Okay, so and Key, I'm learning things here along with our viewers, because I didn't know that about Kia B Music. I really knew about Miss Lottie's Cafe because I've actually had seen some things on the Book of Faces. And let me tell you, honey, when we get on the other side of this pandemic, I'm going to every festival, every pride gathering. Listen, if y'all are having a paint party, all right, to paint the outside of a shed, I'll be there, because it makes you grateful for what you had. It makes you
really,
really
really
grateful for
does.
what you had, right? And I remember going to I think it was Sail Fest, because they have it's 3 days, right? And so Chauncey and I went, and it was hotter outside than HE hockey sticks, to the point where the devil was like, girl, turn on the AC. And so we went out there and we walked around. I was like, okay, it's all right. But I really will appreciate it when it does come back. Hopefully it'll be back in 2022, because I think 2021 is definitely a wash as well for a lot of outside
Big crowd
events.
gatherings.
Yeah, big crowds, because we still are not on the other side of this. So that is awesome. So I didn't know that about that component. I knew that you taught voice, and I knew that you organize the programs, and I also didn't know that it was focused on one particular artist. I just saw like artists were coming up there and like performing, kind of like an open mic kind of situation. So I'm glad that you were actually being very clear about what it is, and that sounds amazing. I love Nina Simone, so I would have loved to have been able to watch and witness that, especially. So
yeah, we've had some amazing actors come through there. Even and one thing that I love to do is kind of get people to do things they've never done before. so some of our actors are singers, right? But they've never acted before, or actors who sing a little bit but never, had to sing a full show before. And I'm like, I really think you can do this, and to see them kind of transform into these folks is quite amazing. One of the actors was my mother, who did 2 of the shows. One was Mahalia Jackson, and the other one was Aretha Franklin. So to see my mom transform into Mahalia Jackson was amazing. But oh, She can sing, she can compose, she writes, she's great.
Once
She
again,
conducts, yeah.
apple tree, apple tree.
I
Look,
can't conduct. I can't for some reason. I got like a C in conducting. I don't know, but that's her thing. But it is. It's so wonderful. So yeah, that and one of so Miss Lottie, I'm not sure if I said this, but Miss Lottie Scott is a patron of the arts in Norwich, Connecticut. She is a Black woman from South Carolina
mhm.
who moved to Norwich, Connecticut. She worked for the state of Connecticut, for the CHRO. She's just this force in a little tiny package, who lives in Norwich and really started the arts community. It really helped to start the arts community in this region. And she approached me and was like, look, we need some more Black and brown music. I want to hear some music down here in town. And what can you do? And I love jazz. And when I started to sing any kind of commercial music, it was jazz. And I'm like, well, I would love to do some kind of jazz show. And when it came together, I'm like, this has got to be called Miss Lottie's Cafe.
Yeah.
And that is so the name itself pays homage to Miss Lottie Scott, who is a shiro in southeastern Connecticut.
Wow. What an awesome tribute. I'm going to get to know her better as well because she's going to be discussing her book. And so, and they have the Old Saybrook, library, Acton Library, Public Library is hosting that. And I was like, Old Saybrook, y'all hosting
They better be ready
Congress.
for Miss Lottie.
Congress, that's great. So I'm gonna be right there front and
Oh,
center.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
So I really cannot wait for that. So wow. Lord have mercy. I'm so excited about that. Can you do like Miss Lottie's Cafe outside? Can we do like an Ocean Beach special or some
They
something
they
like
have been pushing. They've been pushing me. They're like, we can't wait until we can open back up. We can't wait until we go back to 100 capacity. Like, what can we do? So we're trying to figure it out. We've got um um a friend of mine, Kendra Joy, who's an artist out of New Orleans. She's on deck to come perform as Miss Betty Carter.
that?
So
Oh,
so
okay.
we've got the shows lined up. We have a Dionne Warwick show coming up. So we've got the
What?
shows lined up. We just need the Rona to get out of here so we
I
can get
know.
back to business.
I know. I was just trying to figure out like where is an outside space that you could have big enough where people could socially distance but still
Right,
be able to enjoy the show.
right. And we still
Yeah.
make money too. That's the
But see, and
thing.
see that's the thing. And
Right,
still
because
make money.
I like to pay my artists as much
Yeah,
as I
ex-
can.
you know how I believe everybody needs to get paid for their
Right,
work. You know?
exactly. Exactly.
I
I mean, you
always
put
say
so
that.
much into it. You put so
Yeah.
much into it. So funny when people will ask you like, "Oh, well, how much you charge for a song or for a performance?" And you really have to think, well, okay, so I've got this amount of graduate years and this amount of undergraduate
Mhm.
years and this amount of hours of in the rehearsal room and this, so it really, again, like you said, the painting that you would want to charge $1 million for, right? It's like, how do you really put a number on that? But you have to. You got to figure
You
it out.
do. You do. And I think a lot of times people, when your business really supports other folks, and I mean like the arts, right? Like that's at our self-care panel, we had, Anita um, from Culture AF, right? Who talked about how the purpose of oh my goodness, the purpose of self-care and how art looks into that. So at the end of the day, I'm sorry, not Anita, Juanita. So at the end of the day, you do understand that it is a space where people can heal. You are offering a healing thing when you actually are pouring yourself out there. So
Exactly.
people
Exactly. Like
assume
you,
that you shouldn't be that you shouldn't charge a lot, right?
it's just,
They're like,
you're just
it should
doing
be
it.
for
You're
the
gonna do it
public.
anyway, right? You're gonna.
Exactly, exactly,
But
exactly.
think about your Jill Scott. It's funny. I can't remember who I was speaking to, but we were talking about kind of transformative records or albums, and kind of like, well, where were you when the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill came out, right? Or,
Hmm.
and for me, I was thinking, well, where was I when Who is Jill Scott came out, right?
Right.
And and you think about like these albums are transformative, right? You like can
Mhm.
remember the space and the time that you were in, right? So imagine the service that you were getting, the service that you got from Jill Scott when she was telling you, like, do you remember me? Right?
That's right. Exactly.
So it is a service, but just kind of like you would think of a pastor or
Hmm.
a physical therapist or a massage therapist. You need to give back to them, right? Because they're
Hmm.
giving this to you, right? So the
Absolutely.
same thing for artists, and I think that we do it, especially, kind of the bigger artists get, we just kind of like take from them, right? Like, you're a celebrity, you need to give
Hmm.
me, you need to
Hmm.
entertain me, right?
Like, you
We
sign
do,
up for this, you should know exactly. Yeah.
so we do need to make sure that we're giving back to our artists, and then we need to make sure that artists feel valued, right? Because
Exactly.
you are bearing your soul to
Hmm.
people. We see time and time again how many artists stories end tragically,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
give so much of themselves, um and they're healing others, right? Going around
Hmm.
doing this healing
Hmm.
work. I wrote this song for you for your breakup, or I wrote this poem to make you feel better because you lost a loved one. You're taking a piece of me every
Every
time, right?
time. Every
So
time.
self-care is so important for artists, and it's hard. It's easier to feel happy and feeling content when you can pay your bills, when you're not stressed out, worried about what you're gonna eat or where you're gonna live.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
one of
Absolutely.
one of the things that I wanted to do, maybe still will do, hope will happen, is to really get little ones to buy art, right? Just
Hmm.
like, I think, and maybe I'm giving my idea away, so somebody out in the universe can make this happen. But remember when they used to have book fairs and you bring
Hmm.
your little $2, you get
Yes.
some
Yes.
pencils,
Yes.
erasers, and a book?
Yes.
I feel like we should do that for children for art sales, right? Have an art
Mm.
sale at an elementary school every year, and get kids in the habit of buying a piece of art. Maybe it'll be $5 there. They get a piece of art. But then, as that person grows and acquires wealth, they realize how good it felt to buy art off
Mhm.
the wall, put your little sticker, your little soul sticker
Mhm.
next to that. So really developing art appreciators, developing an audience, right? Developing people that aren't going to open that piece of candy in the when the orchestra's playing, right? Teaching audience members how to be good audience participants and to appreciate art. Mhm.
Wow. Wow. Child, you've given us a lot already,
I
and I
know
haven't
we
even
got a
got to
whole bunch
answer
of
my
other questions.
questions. I haven't even got to half of my questions, right? See, that's what happens when you go to school and you are a classically trained soprano. Like, you learn all the things, honey.
All
You just
you learn is that you can hear a candy wrapper 27 rows back in the audience.
you be like, what was that? Look. Exactly, exactly. Wow, wow. And I mean, and so she can sing, y'all, because I've heard her sing. So y'all know I would tell you, I would be like, oh, that's not, yeah, I'm not gonna bring up her singing. But she can sing, so that's good. That is good. But I mean, the other side of the artist component, I think is important too. And I love the idea about um teaching the young ones to value art and to understand the importance of it. Just like we teach young ones how to read, right? And we teach, so you have to start somewhere. So I think that's awesome. I hope that you do bring it to fruition, and I'll help you.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be so sweet to have little ones going through the art gallery? Like, I think that speaks to me. That piece speaks to me. I think I want to
Exactly.
spend my
What is
$2
he
on
saying to
that.
you? What is he saying to you?
Right. You can ask.
Tell me what it says. It says you want to be beside me and my teddy bear. All right.
Right, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
so
it goes with my aesthetic. It matches my aesthetic.
exactly.
Love it.
Now, Kia, so we've heard the business side of a part of it or whatever, and I know that with Kia B Music, but tell us how, and this is why I really wanted to interview you for Women's History Month. Tell us how you got connected with OutCT.
Yeah.
Give
So
us that wonderful story.
okay. So is it a wonderful story? Actually, it is a wonderful story. And it's funny because as much as we've talked over the last year, I bet you may not have heard this story. So I usually start at the beginning of OutCT because I am one of the founding board members of OutCT. But before that, I guess now 10, 12 years ago, I was working on the marriage equality bill here in Connecticut.
What?
So I was, and by working, I mean volunteering, helping wherever I could.
You were writing, you were helping with the legislature,
wherever I could. Basically, helping get people to testify, helping doing fundraising. And there were a lot of people that were volunteering, just like I said, wherever we could, to kind of help Connecticut be at the forefront of this marriage equality bill. And we worked and we got,
wasn't that one of the first states?
yeah, we were like second, third. Massachusetts was first, but we were right. We were right up
in Virginia, honey.
We were right. So there were many volunteers to make that happen. But in this region, Constance Christophic, who is the founder of OutCT, was one of those volunteers. And we met at several different fundraising events that we were helping with and volunteering with. So the marriage equality bill passed in Connecticut, and that was exciting. And then Constance started this work on a feasibility study to see, she's from Pennsylvania, where she had worked on Pride Festival organizing before, and she now lives in Connecticut and wanted to know if we could do it here. New London, southeastern Connecticut is beautiful. We're right by the beach. We've got all the things. So she did a feasibility study going around kind of asking people, could this area sustain a Pride Festival? Are there enough people? Would enough people come? Would the businesses support it? Would the city support it? And did all that research to find out that yes, New London County would support a Pride Festival, an LGBTQ Pride Festival in our region. And but the additional information that came from that was that not only did they think we should have a Pride Festival that might be 1 day or 2 days a year or something, they thought that we needed an LGBTQ organization that did everything, did all the things, did the education piece, did address the needs of the youth, and held events like a Pride Festival. So that was in 2012, maybe, into 2013, OutCT's volunteer board of directors was born. And, I was one of the founding board members and am still rocking with OutCT all of these years later. So I think I pretty much served as all of the with the exception of the treasurer, I think I've served in all of the other capacities on the executive board, president, vice president, probably secretary at one time. I chaired the Pride Festival for a couple of years. I
Mhm.
chaired the entertainment committee for many, many years, because as you
Mhm.
learned, that's my passion.
Weekend.
So that actually I think is kind of the reason. Constance did a really good job kind of trying to figure out all the segments of
Mhm.
folks that she wanted to bring on the board, and she knew that entertainment was a passion of mine. um, and through the Pride, not to necessarily go back to the entertainment piece, but through the Pride Festival, it is so much fun because again, you get to tap into so much local talent.
Mhm.
You get to really highlight and spotlight all of these queer artists,
Mhm.
and be a safe space. We have had radio personalities come out on air at our Pride Festival in front of the entire
Wow.
community and over the airwaves. We've had um, young folks who were on American Idol then come to our Pride Festival and perform their first out performance. So from an entertainment perspective, but as far also from an organizational perspective, it's just been wonderful. So now, fast forward all these years, I serve as the president of the board, and I couldn't be more proud of the organization and where it is. Um, I'm super proud to speak on behalf of Women's History Month as an organization that was founded by a woman and
Mhm.
is currently um, being championed by and has a woman at the helm, myself, and,
And a
and
Black woman.
a black woman,
Yeah.
and I boast all of the time. I think that OutCT has the most diverse board of directors in our region. There was a regional study recently that talked about diversity and inclusion in boards of directors in Connecticut and specifically in Southeastern Connecticut. And despite the work that organizations are trying to do, the boards are increasingly more male and increasingly more white.
Mhm.
And that have really never been the case for OutCT from the very, very beginning. The board has been inclusive, the volunteer base has been very diverse,
Mhm.
and a lot of times people are kind of paired with boards of directors from their jobs or that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But OutCT has always kind of attracted board members that really are passionate about our mission and really want to serve the community and want to help create a safe space for queer folks in this community. So it's just a mission based organization, and everyone
Mhm.
really, really, really is connected to the mission and the work. So I'm excited to be leading this group.
Well, we're excited that you lead us and you allow us to thrive and to grow. And
Yeah.
so that's a great thing. And New London Pride has a special place in my heart because when I first moved up here, July 3rd, 2018, I can't believe that this July it'll be 3 years. 3 years. My spouse was saying, "You were doing a lot to have only been here for 3 years." I was
We
like, "Stop it." But one of the things that I remember looking in the some little newspaper that we would get on campus, and it had the Pride Festival in it, and it had like things to do on the weekend, and I was like, New London has a Pride Festival. So my spouse and I went, and I remember taking a picture. As a matter of fact, it is on my social media. I have on a aqua striped top, and some white capris, and I'm taking a picture in front of like a rainbow backdrop with my little arm like that. Smiling. I'm serious. I'm telling you, you won't gonna tell me I won't cute. But anyway, but I remember that because I remember walking around and meeting like vendors. Like we found this LGBTQ or queer led travel agency, and they go to places like as a group, and we were like, we would love to travel to all these different places. They were going to Paris and all of that, and we were like, we would love to. But the issue that my spouse and I sometimes have is that, number one, is it going to be safe for people to go to another country who identify as queer, right, and Black and brown? What does that look like? And because of what my spouse does, she always looks to make sure, like, with the sad side, she's like, we can't go there because this is what's going on. But it was great to have that connection, and we still get emails from this particular organization. Then also the youth group, that was fantastic. And so just so many vendors, and to have it on the beach, it was just a real little piece of welcome that I needed, because it was just really daunting for me to pick up my whole entire life and move up here and not know anybody besides my spouse. And so to have something that I could connect to just was awesome. And I liked it so much that I came back and I volunteered um, in the youth group for to help Black and brown babies, queer bees, figure out how to do their hair. Right, I know. And then I'm on the board. So listen, the
So, you know,
pride started it all. Pride started it all.
pride is where it starts, right? And you're right. Our Pride Festival really is a gem, I think, because multiple things. We're in a small kind of rural place, so it kind of ends up being this kind of like oasis. The funniest thing is when we're setting up for Pride, we're hanging flags everywhere, we're doing things, and it's the beach, and the beach is open to the public that day. So folks will come in and they look around and they're like, and I just literally,
What did I go come into?
right. And I literally remember this person who ended up becoming a friend of mine saying, "It's Pride today." It was like she just, like, the universe brought her little gay self to the beach that day with her friends, and it just so happened to be Pride, and she just was like, and she
Yeah.
was in the military, so she was, like you said, she's a transplant. She was new, she hadn't seen anything. She just,
Wow. Wow.
her and her friends were like, well, let's just go to the beach, and then she happened upon this Pride, and it just, and she's from a big city, right?
Mhm.
They have Twin City Pride, this huge Pride festival.
Wow. Wow.
um so it just, again, it made her feel like, oh, maybe I can settle in this
Mhm.
area because I there is a community here for me.
Yeah.
And then of course it doesn't hurt that it's on the beach and it's beautiful,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. Exactly.
weather has been gorgeous, and it's just, yeah, it's great.
But one of the things that you mentioned when we were talking was about the lack of diversity in the boards and also in leadership, right? And I think one of the things, because I also remember, because I always tell people I have a memory like an elephant. So if you don't want me to remember something, don't tell me, honey. But I remember seeing you literally, and you were saying happy Pride, welcome to Pride, and because we came about 12 o'clock, because we don't like that sun, it's too much time, we older. But anyway, and you were like starting to introduce the entertainers. And this is a shame that I remember specifically what you had on. You had on rainbow socks, right? They came up to like, yeah, like knee socks, right? And do you remember having I'm serious. And I was like, who is this Black woman in New London who is talking? I had no idea, right, who you were at that point in time. And I remember thinking, because representation is important, I always say that. And so that also made me have a connection, like, oh, there's another Black person here that identifies as queer and who has darker skin like me. I
Right.
mean, like all of those
All the
things.
things.
And it's brand.
Right. It's so funny. You know, the newspaper comes and they interview people every year, and the mayor comes, he's wonderful, and the director of the beach also is there, and
Mhm.
we always like find each other during the Pride Festival at some point and talk about the energy that you feel at the Pride. So all of the things that you just said, you just get this like warm and tinglies, you
Mhm.
know, because it just is such, everybody's like exuding love. And
Mhm.
like, you know, this was back when we could hug people.
Yeah.
And you know, it just feels like a big warm hug, you know.
Yeah.
And even as volunteers, as we're all running around and doing all the things, and I'm hopping on stage and hopping off and doing all of that, it just feels like such a safe, fun, inclusive place. And absolutely, I still run into people and they're like, "You're the happy pride person." So I'm always like, happy pride, you know. But yeah, I'm, once you know we're on the other side of this pandemic, yeah, I would encourage any and everyone to come to New London Pride. You know, go to as many Pride festivals as you can, because
Yeah.
each city is just so unique and they do their Pride festivals in their own special way. But you know, our Pride on the beach is just, like I said, it's just like a hug. You
It
know.
is. It definitely is. It definitely is, and it's memorable. For me to like have those specific kind of memories of that first engagement that I had at Pride, right? And how that has shaped how I kind of like connected with people. So that's awesome. So you told us about Kia B's music and that you do not believe that anybody should be a starving artist. You told us that you help the babies sing so they can, be a future Jill Scott or a Nina Simone or Ella Fitzgerald or, all of the things, right? And you also told us about like some of your other efforts that you do and like your work on marriage equality and how that was and how you actually how you came to become a founding board member. So let's kind of switch gears. Tell me, being an artist yourself, as well as an instructor and voice coach, how has this affected your business, Corona?
Yeah, the Rona. She's the worst.
Can you imagine?
Um, so yeah, the hardest part is that I'm not teaching right now. No, I'm not
Mhm.
teaching voice right now. Um, and and I knew that I loved my voice lessons. I knew that I loved it, but it's like anything. You really don't know how much you love it, how much you enjoy it until you can't do it, you know? Um, and as you probably heard in the from maybe Dr. Fauci or somebody, that singing was one of the things that really could spread the virus so
Mm,
much more
mhm.
easily, because you're projecting, and you know, and it's very hard to sing in a mask.
Yeah.
So it really did make sense that that my students wanted to kind of take a break just for safety. Um, and trying to sing on Zoom is not easy at all,
Mhm.
because the music is happening and then the singing is happening, and they're two separate things. It's very, very difficult. Um, so that has been one of the major shifts during the pandemic, is not being able to connect with my voice students.
Mhm.
Um, and as I mentioned, you know, being with my students was an excuse for me to sing too, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you know, church was closed for a while, and
Wow.
going back to church now, so it's like, I need to sing, I want to
So
sing.
like
And you
you
think,
singing in church? Are you even singing church?
yeah, but with my mask on, so I can't take a deep breath, everything has
I
to
was about to say, child, you may not be here for the Sunday dinner. You take that deep boy, like a deep breath. We be like, what girl, what happened to kid,
be,
child?
you passed
She
out
went in, she
singing, you
went
know.
to glory, child, singing. I'm like, well, at least she did something she loved.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that has been so I do have a day job. So I teach vocational skills
Mm-hmm.
to adults with young adults with disabilities. So, and I have a staff of essential workers, and the hardest part of this all during that is
Mhm,
being there for them emotionally as they
mhm,
are, coming to work, they're doing their job, they're a great job,
mhm.
and honestly putting themselves at risk, putting their
Yeah,
family members at risk, getting sick, getting better, having family members sick, and and really trying to keep them encouraged and remind them how important their work is, because a lot
mhm.
of young people with disabilities, just being at home remote learning is just not going to cut it
Yeah,
for them,
yeah.
um so it's been great that we've been able to continue to provide services for them through this,
Mhm.
um and I just can't figure out a way to thank my staff enough. Like, I keep, thank you, I thank you, now I'm appreciative, right? I appreciate you, but I really just can't thank them enough for the sacrifices that they made to make sure that the young people that we serve, continue to be able to come and be engaged and not lose this whole year, right? Because we've heard that a lot of young people are just, this year is kind of like a wash for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Academically, they're missing out on a lot of things. They're missing a lot out on a lot of the social interactions that they need
Mhm,
to develop as young people.
mhm.
So, our ability to keep going through all of this has been tough,
Yeah,
but it's necessary. It's essential, right? It's
yeah,
essential, it's
yeah.
necessary. But I think, emotionally for me, the toughest part of this whole pandemic is trying to keep folks and myself encouraged
Mhm,
throughout this, reminding people that the work that we do is imperative, and there's so many people out there that need to stay connected,
mhm,
um because isolation is tough. It really is
mhm.
tough, and it's hard, and um so so which is why now feels so hopeful.
Mhm,
It feels so
mhm.
hopeful to see that we're kind of cautiously turning the corner, um and we can see normal somewhere off in the distance, but but yeah, just trying to keep people encouraged, and
Mhm,
really appreciating people for the work that they've done, because this last year and so has been such a sacrifice, and people have really showed up,
mhm.
and showed their humanity and their service to others.
Okay, thank you. Um, Once again, another job, right? So, so you share with us how you've kind of had to adjust professionally, right? What are some personal adjustments that you've had to make amongst the pandemic? I know that you have family in Hartford, but at one point in time, they really were not encouraging people to even like travel to family, and a lot of your family is like out of state.
Right.
Um, so and
Yeah. It, it
your
was hard.
chosen family and bio family. Look,
Right, right. It was hard. It really was hard. Um, I think unfortunately, I have a very blurry line between personal and professional. So I think, um, the hardest part was not being able to sing, and like you said, my family's all singers, musicians, all of the things, um and those are the things that we like to do socially, right? Go to music events, and go to churches and sing, go to choir things and do those things, and all of that ended. So it ended the kind of professional part of it, right? So the money that comes in from my singing opportunities, right? But really the social interactions that you have,
mhm,
with all the other musicians, singers, family members, all of that. One strange byproduct of this is not even strange, it's actually awesome is that because, as you mentioned, I'm very, very busy. So I am usually the cousin, auntie, whatever, that doesn't get to go to all the kids' birthday parties and misses out on a lot of things because I always have a gig or a meeting or a thing. This last year, I was able to go to every drive-through birthday parade and, uh, every outdoor swing by thing that I could because things did slow down.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and then my loved ones that are out of town, we held out as long as we could, and then eventually like, look, you quarantine for however long, you test, and then we're gonna have to spend time together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um but um but there were some bright spots where really my cousins came and did a little drive-by balloon thing
Hmm.
for my birthday. Some bright spots, and but again, it just showed how important family is.
Yeah.
um it showed what however your family is made up.
Hmm.
um you know um it really reminded you, and thank God for Zoom.
Hmm.
Thank God for Zoom, because in honestly, for our Zoom Thanksgiving or whatever, we had family members from Las Vegas, we had family members from North Carolina, from Virginia, that we typically wouldn't see, during that. So everybody was in our own little bubbles, me and my mama, you know. uh, but thanks to technology, um, we were able to make some things work. But I do think absolutely it has reminded us how important our connections are.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
so.
I think when you say about and the importance of connection, and you were talking about that earlier in the interview, that you didn't realize how much you enjoyed the voice lessons, right? And teaching your students voice. And I'm licensed in 2 states, and so I typically see my Virginia folks via Zoom. So that's not a big deal. But I didn't realize how much I missed in-person sessions until we all had to shelter in place, and I had to start seeing my Connecticut folks on Zoom. And so I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I can no longer say that, okay? Because I have had to adjust and figure some things out
Right.
and reframe my thinking when it comes to technology.
Mhm.
So it has, and also too, I was spending more time probably with friends through like Zoom parties or like, you know, um, getting together for like a girls' night out or whatever, and we were just like all chilling or watching a movie or something via Zoom. So I spent probably more time with folks that I really had not been able to spend time with. So
Mhm.
those were the things that came out, and also too, I am thankful that I was able to uh, shelter in place with my spouse and my dog daughter, and at the end of it, we still love each other, so that's
Yeah.
good, right? Because listen, sometimes stuff can get shaky, but but also too, it made me kind of figure out like out of the box thinking on how to still engage in situations, right, and still be safe.
Right.
So there were things like, like virtual Zoom, I mean, virtual like paint parties and
Right. Yeah. How many
just,
paint nights did you go to? I have all my paintings all over.
oh, listen, I'm looking at like two, like right here. Okay. And then also, we had a staycation. And at first I had like a whole attitude about not being able to travel and go somewhere. But I got to visit different parts of Connecticut. I got
Mhm.
to, we went on um a sail a lunch cruise or whatever. It was just me and my spouse and the captain on the boat. So those were things that were nice, and it makes you reflect and appreciate what you have, to be honest with you. So you're right. So
Right.
if I say anything that came out of it, it brought us closer, as a people, as a community, as a nation,
Right.
and it makes us much more appreciative of some of the things that we would not be have been able to do, when we are post pandemic.
Absolutely. And not to mention, we were in a pandemic and in a racial unrest crisis,
Yes.
moment, reckoning,
Yes. Yes.
American
Yes.
reckoning,
Yes.
all at the same time, which I think did some of those same things. It's so funny. Um, people kind of tried to figure out why did this one, what happened here, and because of the Rona, we had time. Like they said, she got time today. We had
Yes.
time. We really
No,
had time
absolutely.
to come together. Folks were not working, they were not in school. And it really, the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery were the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly.
And we had time.
Exactly.
So, and again, that was another thing. And maybe that's what universe is saying, like, you need to stop, you need to spend time with your people, whether it be virtual or in person. But another thing that was one of the most beautiful moments of my 2020, which was crazy, but I went to a Black Lives Matters march in Hartford on Juneteenth
Wow.
with my all of my first cousins, my aunts, and my little baby cousins. And we are marching in this giant crowd of people, screaming Black Lives Matter and say her name. And I mean, they're from like 10 to 60. All
Mhm.
of these women in my family who were marching together, and meeting people and having conversations, and
Mhm.
having conversation with my 16-year-old cousin who was telling me why she was there, and what, she goes to prep school, she goes to private school. She's having a very interesting experience as a young Black girl at a private school. And why the moment mattered to her, and how it reflected the experiences that she was having right now.
Exactly.
um, so that was a highlight. Obviously, I wouldn't have wanted to be there in
Exactly.
2020.
Exactly.
But that moment was a highlight of my year, watching these, especially the young ones, these young
Mhm.
future leaders of our country, being there protesting, making their voice heard, and just inspiring the heck out of me. I'm just like, and I'm in the middle. I get to see, my aunts, and then the little ones, and I'm kind of like looking up to them and reaching down to the younger ones.
Mhm.
And that really was a bright spot of the year. So
That
just
sounds
amazing.
beautiful. That's very nice. And like you said, that was a bright spot. And the reason why, you're right. The reason, I was just talking to someone about this today. The reason why the um the national unrest came with the killing of the Black and brown folks, because this has been going on for years. Like when we look at Trayvon Martin, and it got some press coverage, but not as much as this. There was not a national uprising. It's because we were stuck. We didn't have a choice. We had to process it, and we could see it, and then it kept happening and happening and happening and happening. And I also want to shout out, definitely, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, but also some of our, our queer and trans folks who lost their lives too, who really weren't shouted out as much. And
Right.
so there is still work to do, like Tony McDade, who died right after Breonna Taylor at the hands of a police officer in Florida, and people weren't saying his name, a Black
Right.
trans
Right.
man. So so those are things that they're great, and it's fantastic, but there are also growing edges that we still can work on.
Right.
But that's a beautiful moment. That's, it's good to hear about, like, how your aunts were there saying, look, all right, and then you in the middle of the day, you like, all right, come on, y'all, I'm bringing you with me, I'm bringing you with me.
Right.
Yeah. And having, like you said, your niece having to have a totally different experience going to a private school. I can I cannot relate personally because I've never gone to private school, but I've sent my son to private schools. And so just because I wanted him to have every possible advantage. And so there definitely is a difference because sometimes he was like the only Black and brown person in his class. And so what does that mean? And I think about what that dynamic is for people who are not exposed on a regular basis to other people who they can gather with, right, and connect with in a place that you're at for 8 hours of the day.
Right.
So, thank you for that reminder. I hadn't even, I forgot all about that because Brandon is 20 and 9, honey.
Right.
So,
He made it. He made it. But yeah, it is. I mean, and the region that we live in now is very different than it was when I was in elementary school. I was the only Black girl in school
mhm,
until my little brother was the other the other person, you know. um, so, and that was in public school at the time. The public schools are much, much more diverse now. But you can imagine they were growing in diversity at that time, and that growing process is difficult for folks that have lived here for generations and generations.
mhm, mhm.
So it's an experience, and it doesn't it grows you, you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
don't, it's gonna get better, but it kind of stings a little bit to know that
Yeah,
20 something years later, I have a little cousin who's experiencing the same thing that I did.
yeah.
But I think that her generation is not going to stand for it.
No,
I heard,
I
heard
love,
you.
let me tell you something. I'm here for the babies now. And I don't know if it was just, well, I don't know, because I do know. I know that my generation really engaged in respectability politics based on how my mom was raised. Respectability politics was like, that's what you had to do to survive, right? And, in the civil rights era, right? And what that looked like. Because if you said something out of the way, you may not be able to come home,
Right.
right? So totally, similar to what's going on now, but just in a different way. But the fact of the matter is that these young people have a voice and they are not afraid to use it. And that's why my most favorite population to work with are college students, because they are figuring it out and they don't have an issue with advocating their needs. And let me tell you, Miss Chevelle is here for all of it. I was like, yes, yes. Don't be disrespectful, but you can voice your concerns,
Yes,
your
absolutely.
needs, your are deserve to be heard.
Hmm.
So, Kia, I could just talk to you all day, and I have truly, truly enjoyed our chat. But tell the viewers how they can find you, and what exciting things do you have on the horizon for our viewers to participate in? I know that you say you in the works of maybe a Miss Lade Cafe outdoors.
What do they call that? Al fresca, right?
Yeah.
Miss Lottie's al fresca. Yeah. So yes. So I'm Kia B Music on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, um, but also Kia Baird. If you're interested in having me sing, like as she mentioned, I chair. I'm the board chair for OutCT, so you can reach us at outct.org. Um, but I'm pretty much anywhere you can. I hate to say it, but like I Google myself every once in a while. I'm still there. I'm still there. But but several things that we definitely, as soon as we can, as soon as humanly possible, we'll be back
Mhm.
with Miss Lottie's Cafe. We're also thinking OutCT is partnering with La Grua Center to do some cultural art stuff, which is going to be
Mhm.
great. um Sailfest committee is meeting again next month, so we're gonna figure out how Sailfest will come together, and Kia V Music will definitely have a presence there, and Pride Festival as well,
Yeah.
OutCT New London Pride Festival. So lots of ways. You may not want to get connected with me, because once you meet me, that means I'm going to sign you up for something. I'm going to make you volunteer for something. That really is my love, is connecting people with
Mhm.
passion, right? So connecting people that have a passion for something with opportunities to do that. So, that's the thing that brings me joy when I get to say, I'm connecting you with this person because you guys would be great. And Chevelle can tell you I do that all the time. I'm so excited to connect you with this person.
Exactly. Or
So,
you'll be on the phone and she'll be like, hold on for 1 second.
I know somebody you should talk to. Yes.
It's call a human. I'm like, can you prepare something?
I have to do it when it pops up, when it just when it pops in my head. But that is the thing that I love to do. And I think um that's how we build community, right? Like,
Exactly.
people will ask me all the time, they'll say, oh, well, how did you meet this person? And 9 times out of 10 I can't remember, because it's from a connection to a connection to a connection to a
Exactly.
connection.
Exactly.
And then once we're connected, we're connected. It's not, oh, you referred me from such and such. So it's like, no, we're just connected now. This is we're a community. We are community now. So
Yes. Yes.
so that's the hope moving forward. Just to continue to connect people with their passions, and connect them to opportunities to do that. And we'll just keep rolling.
That's it. That's
Mhm.
it. And she's right, y'all. Listen, there are plenty of opportunities for you to volunteer and help out with OutCT. We're always looking for volunteers on the various committees that we have. We have Pride coming up, so we're excited about that. We did our first virtual Pride last year and had a private in-person screening of the virtual Pride. And I will tell you, it was extremely successful. And it was my first Pride as a board member. And I remember having so much pride about being a part of Pride. So it was just awesome. And it pretty much came full circle from that time that I came to visit. And I took my picture with my hand up because I was cute. But Kia, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with us. I know our viewers appreciate all that you do for New London, and I know that I do. And I tell you all the time how appreciative I am that you are my board president, and very, very proud to serve underneath you. So thank you again for taking the time out and sharing all of the great things that you do. And y'all heard what she said. Now you can reach her on the Book of Faces, on the LinkedIn, on the gram of Insta, at OutCT. So you can't say that you can't find her, because she's gonna always be there. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chevelle. Thank you for this opportunity. Happy Women's History Month to all of the women out there. I
Yes,
was gonna mention, our Pride founders, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia
absolutely.
Rivera. So, just we love women. We kudos to our Vice President Kamala Harris, all the women out there that are making history on the local level, on the national level,
Absolutely.
international level. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. I give so much gratitude for you, because not for all these wonderful women, I wouldn't be here. So
That's
happy
it.
Women's History Month.
That's it. That's it. So, viewers, I invite you to tune in next month for beginning of season 2 of Who's in the Neighborhood. I cannot believe that we will have a season 2. I'm so excited about that. Once again, I am Chevelle Moss-Savage of OutCT's Education Committee, and we are sharing educational moments and resources. See y'all next month. Bye, y'all.